Afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Biblio Fitness. Hope everyone's had a great day. It was a beautiful day to start, but it's beginning to get cloudy. But today is a good day. Not a perfect pull session, but I am going to go to a heavy metal concert later tonight. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be wild. It's going to be death metal. So get to headbang and have a good time. It's been a very long time since I've gone to a metal concert. So can't wait. But aside from that, today I finally officially talking about The Dawn of Day, or The Dawn of the Day by Nietzsche, which is one of his earliest works that I've been reading. I'm still in the beginning. I'm only on page 48, if I remember correctly. It's work. I really do enjoy it. I got it out of like a whim. I was listening to a podcast and I was baked, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy it. That sounds interesting, and it's not disappointing at all. In the beginning, it's still going down this track of the origins of morality and where they come from and what they're for and the utilities and what they actually mean. And these are all very astute observations by good old Nietzsche, especially in The Dawn of Day. The beginning, he talks about Immanuel Kant, and his whole premise, his whole argument was to show the limitations of reason, show the limitations of nature, because we are from nature, therefore the limitation on nature. And there is a limit on nature and what it can see, what you can process and stuff. Kind of like he says, it's kind of giving Christianity its justification in a secularized vocabulary. It's all freaking really cool, and it really gives you perspective on the whole world, and it kind of makes the rabble even more annoying in a way. This constant vying for control, and just the sheer pomposity of morality and virtues, and how we are brainwashed from the very beginning to conduct ourselves or to vindicate ourselves within this framework. And that's what it really is, right? Like, at the end of the day, what is morals but a drive sanctified, a passion sanctified. And that's what he talks about. Nietzsche talks about in The Dawn of Day in very elaborate detail. Talks about where it originally came from, these morals. Why did we need to moralize? What happened before morals? And that's something that he talks about even in Beyond Good and Evil. Before morals, there was the consequences of an action. What were the consequences, not the intentions. That's how it would be in Christianity. And how morals in themselves is morality, how he calls it morality of customs, as he likes to say. It's kind of like a behavioral kind of thing. That guy weirded me out for a second. Weird. But morality really is customs and a sort of behavior. It's a manner to behave. It's a manner to think. It's a manner of how to act. And it all stems from trying to understand, or not even understand, just a way to make this world make sense for you, in a beneficial way. Take on traits or put traits or moralized traits and behaviors that are beneficial for your survival. And that's, where it all comes from. He talks about how they're all basically animal instincts, how the need to take on the ideas of the day, or to put oneself with a political party, or with an ideal, or religion, country, God, whatever. It all stems from the very roots, animal instincts, to want to blend in with its environment, camouflage, in order to evade its pursuers. These are very, really, really cool, and I love Nietzsche because this is really the guy that doesn't try to really justify what he's actually trying to say in a very unique way. Like, you have a lot of philosophers that just try to argument a point in like in relation to what good is. Like, good is to be this sort of person, and how Nietzsche says that all these different philosophies really are in the same forest, in the same ecosystem. They still use the same words, the same concepts. They're under the same umbrella. They're just different justifications for that one philosophy or that one religion or whatever. And I just like it because, you get to see that, he really does help you see that good and evil really are just mere concepts, and how we interchange them all the time based on our needs, based on our desires, based on our, where we are in life, and where, if we're in a state of war or we're in a state of peace. All these things constantly change, but we always treat these truths, these just good and evil, as these, universal and non-ephemeral concepts. I guess that's the appropriate word, but whatever. And as in the definition isn't, is this truth that never changes, when in fact it obviously is. And you kind of just to get to see how it is now, how everyone says that they're doing it for the good, or they're doing it for the evil, or when no one says they're doing it for evil, but how they're doing it for the good, they're doing it for democracy, they're doing it for the people. Well, because, I've talked about this plenty of times on this channel, is how, we constantly go with the rabble of the many. So now if you want to lead, you have to have that sort of rhetoric, because if not, you're not going to get any following. People are not going to follow you. And it's just so cool how he does really bring it down to that level of necessity, how it really is a necessity, how us behaving under these morals, is kind of like a reminder of a power play, like how we have these weird behavioral customs that we don't even question, we just mimic from birth. And while it might not even have any actual utility in terms of the preserving of our lives, but we still have to acquiesce to these rules, as a reminder that we're always going to be under the thumb of this ideology, of this philosophy, of this religion, whatever the case may be, of this prevailing morality, of the play within the game. And I do love how he really does talk about how, being part of the morality is really self-effacement, it's really self-mutilation, how you have to dumb yourself down, how you can't act out your desires just so you could be ethical and amicable with your fellow beings. And he also talks about how, I lost my train of thought here. But, it's just different, it's just really honing in on how morality, religion is just this constant fight against nature, like looking at nature, not being satisfied with what you saw, and therefore you construct this ideology in order to filter the reality in a way that you see fit, which is what I said before. But that's basically really the brass tack, like the foundation of this whole thing is why, and that's why he talks about a good and evil, how you have to kind of see not just how they want you to behave, but why, what's the point. It's not just he talks about in this book, The Dawn of Day, that utility cannot be the origin, it can't be the purpose of it, it's there for a purpose, its purpose is its origin. And he talks about how that's not really the case, right? Because if you take it to Christianity, for example, and he talks about how, you go to, you look at all these philosophies and religions, how they talk about an origin or they talk about definition, and they really try to reject the actual truth of it. How Christianity really is a rejection of reason, for example. How I think he puts out an example of with Christopher Columbus, that that there has to be people all around the world because God wouldn't have created all this land for us to not live in it. And you know what I'm saying? That's what he talks about. And the utility itself is what he means can be the origin of it, but what is why is it there? And I feel like when he talks about behaviors, that's exactly how you want to be, how you want to ask it. It's like, why do you want me to show pity? Why do you want me to be humble? Why do you want me to be meek? Why do you want me to act in these ways? Like, to be good, or is it for something else? Is it for something more nefarious, or more something deeper in its application and its meaning? And that's one really cool thing that he talks about in the book, is how in the very beginning the intentions and the thoughts behind the actions were completely different. How, he really does hone in on how a lot of people will try to act like egalitarians, and they really are always donating to the poor and stuff like that. But it's really to show off. It's really to show how great you are. It's a way to exhibit your cruelty towards others. And that's one really cool thing he talks about, is like, it is like how I said, it's just, moralization of instincts is just sanctifying those instincts. You're not getting rid of anything. But he talks about how that in that case, like when you're being when you're being that sort of person, or when you're in relations to God, or you're a pope, or whatever the case. He talks about being a nun and things like that. You look at people in a very derisive way, in a very condemning way, like, oh, look at this poor fool who doesn't know how to live. Look at me, I'm closer to God. There's a cruelty, it's a hate that they're exhibiting by their humility. Their mercy is only came about through their cruelty. They want to torture you with their cruelty, with their favor upon you, helping you, to show power over you and things like that. That's what it really talks about. And that's really how it is. Like, you look at now people saying that they are the good, they are the ones that are going to bring about change, so you need to shut up and listen so they can bring about this change. And how people who are smarter or who are in better positions, they say they want to help you, but there's always that sort of tone of, you poor idiots, well, not even poor idiots, like, oh, I'm better than you, learn from me. And that's what he means, is like, these are all just drives that are being given an excuse to be used. And that's really, even cruelty in its entirety, which I talked about when I was reading Beyond Good and Evil, how it really all is a cruelty, how wanting to show force and show anger upon those who don't believe the same as you, or even in beliefs not in that same way as well. And how it really all like Christianity is the ultimate pessimism, for example. It's a complete rejection of reason, complete rejection of life, complete rejection of the world. It's an anger that's being given sanctification in this religion. Same thing with the inversion of values, how it's always been talked about with Christianity, how it really tries to escape reason, how not using reason or experience because you are flawed and you don't know any better, but to go based off feeling, that what makes you feel better should be used, and that's the whole concept with truth. For example, the truth makes you feel good, the good is truth. There's just so many fucking things to throw on here. It's really astounding how in depth he really goes. Holy cow. I'm so sorry. But how in depth he really goes in this book. And I'm gonna probably have to stop it short soon because it's getting really hot and really moist. So, but it's just an amazing book that I'm gonna try to segment and try to like talk about each one in more detail, which is probably what I'm gonna end up doing. So that'll be all for today. If you haven't checked out Dawn of the Day, please do. It's a pretty dope ass book, and I'm only in the beginning. So hope you all have a great day. Hope you all make amazing games. Don't forget to make games. So don't be lazy. Love y'all. Peace.